Hey everybody, Jaycie here. Welcome to Cartwheels and Banana Peels. We are getting closer and closer to the end of October. Halloween is upon us almost, and we have been having a blast sharing some supernatural, paranormal, you name it, ghost stories. We even had a near-death experience. So all kinds of stuff that we've had on these episodes in October. So I'm really looking forward to what my guests have to share today at my kitchen table. So I'm Jaycie, if you don't know me by now. But anyways, I'm going to go around and let's just see who we have with us today. Tom, will you start us off in sharing who you are and what you do?
Absolutely. So my name's Tom Kwiat. I'm originally from Chicago, Illinois, but I live in Waco, Texas. I am an all-around content creator. Daytime I'm a marketing advertiser, and at nighttime I'm a podcast host that interviews independent musicians.
I love it. That's exciting. That's super exciting. All right, cool. And Wendy, will you tell us who you are and what you do?
Hi, I'm Wendy. I am a holistic coach. I do all things spiritual, meditation, um, oracle cards, and I'm into the paranormal. I've got my own paranormal channel, which I'm blasting this week. So I'm really excited.
Exciting. And for those of you listening in, we do have another guest, Jeremy, that has had communication with me, and hopefully he will make it. He's just running a little behind. So once he gets here, we'll take a moment to let him introduce himself as well. But anywho, as I said, I'm Jaycie, and I've had a recent pivot with my storytelling. And so I'm really focusing on the stories within our dreams. So the messages those dreams bring us, and really diving into that and how it relates to our lives and our businesses. So every day's a hell yes. So anyways, Tom, what did you bring to my kitchen table today?
So this story is actually it's not even a story. It actually happened. So when I was in college, I was working as a janitor in a bowling alley.
Oh, interesting. I used to own a bowling center, but anyways, go ahead. Sorry.
No,
I
so
digress.
I was working as a janitor, and I'd been there for about a year and a half. I had just transitioned from being one position to being a janitor, and there was always rumors about this couple that had been murdered in the back of the bowling alley.
Wow.
Like, that was always kind of like 2 o'clock in the morning. We're sitting around the bar drinking, just kind of not really wanting to go home, that sort of thing. And these ghost stories would start coming out. And I was like, okay, that's all whatever. I don't really believe anything. And one morning I was cleaning up, and I just kept hearing all these conversations. There was nobody there, just me, all these conversations going on. And I'm like, okay, like you could make out a little bit, but it was like, when you're in a very busy room, it's just kind of like, it's people talking, but it's like just noise at that point. I guess that's kind of the best way to describe it. And one of the guys I was working with, he was like, oh yeah, that's so and so and so and so. Like they're just having a party. Just tell them who you are, what you're doing, and it won't be a big deal. Like, okay. So the next day I got in, and I didn't really do anything because wasn't really bothering me until they started as things started happening. Like my mop bucket would start magically moving down the bowling alley, or my music would go out, or just like different things that you can't really explain, like naturally explain. And my buddy was like, I'm telling you, it's the ghosts, the two couple that was murdered in the back. Just tell them who you are, what you're doing, and they'll leave you alone. And so the next time I was working the early morning shift or whatever, things started happening. I was walking down the bowling alley. I saw like a shrouded figure walking to the back. And I was like, hey, my name's Tom. Just letting you know I'm a janitor. I don't mean you any harm. I'm just here to do my job. And I don't mean you any harm, and that's kind of what it was. And I started walking to the bathroom, and all of a sudden the game room clicks on, like we had a arcade, whatever, clicks on, and one of the games goes doo doo doo, like just straight, like a positive affirmation that they heard what I said.
Yeah.
Never had any problems. No, nothing ever really went wrong. Like the mop up, they weren't like playing tricks on me or anything. And yeah, so.
That's
The
wild.
respect was there.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I love that. That reminds me when my then husband and I bought the bowling center in our hometown, his grandparents used to own it, and then his parents owned it. And then it's out of the family. We bought it back into the family for a few years. But he was very, very close to his grandfather. And his grandfather was like this little teeny tiny, like 5'2" man. I never got to meet him because he passed way before I was around. But there was one afternoon we hadn't owned, of course, my then husband had grown up in the bowling alley, right? Like in the bowling center. It was just his life. He didn't know me. I was a dancer and a gymnast. I didn't bowl. My father did, but I didn't, right? So it's kind of new to me. And we'd had it a few months at that point. And I knew if there's a deck jam or if a pin's out, all those things, I could go to the back, I can run down the lane, all the stuff. I can go take care of customers. But at that point, I had not yet had to run the bowling center out front, because we had a bar or two. But I hadn't had to run the bowling center by myself yet. But my then husband was the baseball coach for his son. And so they had practice. So I had to kick off that particular evening. No problem. It's fine. And I had a few, just recreational bowlers in before the league started. Well, I think I had 4 lanes going. And so it was because we only had a 14-lane house. So I think I had 4 lanes going. And all of a sudden, something kept going wrong with every single lane. As soon as I get back to the front, I'd have to run to the back. I was getting tired.
Yeah.
And it finally clicked in my head that it was Bob. And I said, Bob, I get it. I know you're here. Could you stop? Rob will be here soon.
Yeah.
Thank you for welcoming me to the bowling center. And no kidding, it quit.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It was one of those things where my dad would always tell me different stories or encounters that he had because he's a pilot, so he would have a lot of like really early morning drives or late night drives home, and he would always like there was always this story about Scary Mary in Northern Illinois, an old lady that would died a widow, and she would wander the streets looking for her lover.
Oh, wow. Wow.
And so he'd always tell that story, and I always kind of thought it was like, he's just trying to scare the kids to go to bed or whatever. And then I had this experience, and I told him, and he's like, I told you I'm not crazy. And I'm like, I get it now. So
yeah. And I think that's been some of the interesting. So I'm looking forward to Wendy's story here in a minute too, of course. So don't think I'm skipping you, Wendy. But it's such an interesting experience because I've heard this with these episodes I've been doing this month, that for October, that a lot of times that's what we hear, like, you're nuts, you're crazy. Because if you haven't experienced something for yourself, even when you have, and I've experienced a ridiculous amount of things, to be honest, because it seems to always show up around me.
Yeah.
I'm still skeptical, at least for a little bit. So, but, and the only thing else I'll share about my bowling center was we had a bartender, we were very good friends with her, and she would just be playful and goofy and do silly things at times. And so I was out front one evening, and I had taken food from the bar to somebody that was bowling. And I thought that our then bartender came up and my hair physically moved. And I thought she came up like blew on my neck, just being stupid, just, but my hair moved. And I turned around and I actually said her name. She was nowhere around. She was in the bar, and there was no one by me.
Yep.
No one.
Yeah.
And there was
That's
nothing
so
our ceiling fans didn't blow, just like my hair. It didn't, nothing would have done that. And it never happened again. So interesting.
Yep.
But Wendy, will you share your story with us?
I shall. For about 12 years, I was a canine security officer, which I worked with my German Shepherd, Odin. And we used to work out, they were called Ipswich Rail Museum. And there was certain areas that we would guard for the night. So I was there with my boss at the time, who I lived with at the time. So we knew each other pretty well. And if you can imagine, it was a square sort of building, and there was another one next to it. So we had our cars either end of the building, so we could see left and right. So we had the building covered. Now I was sitting out of my car on a seat with my dog, and I looked straight down. It was like an alley. And there was no one on site. There was never anyone on site. So it was really strange to see somebody walk past, look up my way. My dog gives a oof, like a gruff, like, I see you, right? And I'm like, yeah, I see him too, Ed. And so I waved. He waved back. And then I realized nobody should be on site. So next minute, he just walks into a wall. So I've called my boss on the radio and I said, did you just see that? There was a guy, blah, 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 gave the description. He said, I'll be right there. So he's turned straight up and we've gone into the main area. I've let my dog off without the muzzle, checked the whole area, down underneath the trains in the pits and everything. And he's come up, chumps. There's no one there.
Oh my goodness.
Now, so when the people came on board at 6 a.m. the next morning, sun rises, a few people start coming in and I started conversing with them. So what's the go? I seen this fellow last night. I described him. He had a cap on. He waved. He was friendly, chubby face, blah, blah, blah. They go, that's Budgie. I said, Budgie? And they went, yeah, haven't you seen his train in like the building? And I said, no. Show me. So we've gone into the building and I've looked up and there's the word Budgie. And apparently when he passed away, they put his ashes in the flume and went for a ride and his ashes were spread throughout the thing. So he turns up every day and goes to work.
Oh my
gosh. Gave us a wave.
Oh.
You know?
And it's an intelligent interaction. He truly waved back. That's cool.
It was so cool. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's so amazing. So Jeremy, welcome. Everybody watching, we already forewarned you Jeremy was running late. So we knew that. But welcome, Jeremy. So we have just been sharing some ghost stories, and this is Tom as well as Wendy, and obviously I'm Jaycie. But Tom was sharing with us a story in regards to a bowling alley that he used to be a janitor at. I shared a couple of stories because I used to own a bowling alley. So I got to share a couple of crazy stories that we had happen that may have been my then husband's grandfather, even potentially. And then Wendy was a K-9 officer, a security detail. So she was telling that there. And I'm like, what a cool story. So that's the gist of it. You're caught up.
Very good. Very good.
So, Jeremy, would you tell us and everyone out there, though, really quickly, who you are and what you do? And then I want to come back again so we can get your story.
Of course. I am Jeremy Bryant. I'm the host of Paranormal, the New Normal. 200 plus episodes of people all from the spiritual, paranormal, supernatural realm talking about themselves and their lives and how they got into this and what they do with it on a daily basis. And
I think that's great. I love it. So go ahead. Sorry.
That's okay. And I'm also the co-host of Maniacal Musings, a music podcast.
Oh, fascinating. Love it.
Nice.
So this is something because I had a week or two ago, as we're pre-recording, obviously, but a week or two probably prior to when this comes out, their episode will come out, and she co-owns a well, I had two actually paranormal investigators, but one is she co-owns a haunted bar. Was my jail in Tennessee. So we had some really fascinating conversation. And then there was another gentleman that talked about being a paranormal investigator, and he's in Nebraska. And so I was asking, well, why did you go down that route? And of course, Wendy, I know you said you have a paranormal podcast as well, right?
Yeah, we've just started investigating some really beautiful places around locally, and we've connected with what happens as paranormal investigators seem to come together. And we've done some really cool investigations overnight even, so I can't wait to get that all edited and put it up. It's so
and
exciting.
Really quickly, Wendy, your accent kind of gives it away, but where are you located, if you didn't already say
Australia.
It's kind of obvious, but
I was gonna say England, but okay.
Oh, okay.
But
well, probably formally.
Here I am, straight up American, and my Anyway, my Siri on my phone is an Australian male voice. I just love the
I love
accent.
it.
So I'm like, we'll set it up as a guy. Sounds like I'm single. Well, I'm seeing some right now, but I was single when I did it. So
I love that.
he laughs at it all the time. It's fine. Okay. So Jeremy, gosh, I'm sure you have a wealth of things to share, but I want to ask you, actually back up and ask you kind of that question. What got you interested in the paranormal?
Oof, that's a long story, but
Well, as short as you can make it.
and I think I know the person who owned half a prison in Tennessee, or I think I know that person. But
Chris Sumner.
Yep.
Hang on, I can't. Yeah,
One-
that's
one
who
of my-
she was on the show. Yeah.
one of my first guests. But
Oh, cool. She's awesome.
and I also have had her partner on as well, I think at some point, I believe.
Oh, cool.
But I've been into the paranormal since I was a wee kid in elementary school in America. I was the only kid renting the books out of the library that had to do with Bigfoot and aliens and Loch Ness Monster, and I just from there it came, it waned, as life does, and eventually I got into paranormal podcasts and I started listening, and I started podcasting on a pop culture podcast, and they said you need to start a show of your own. You need to get your voice out there with something you love, And I was like, well, I love the paranormal, so hell, let's go with that. And now I live in a possessed house, so why the hell not?
Ooh, okay. You've set us up. You've planted the seed. What story are you going to tell us? Because we could probably talk forever about a possessed house, but obviously we don't have all day. But come on, spit it out. What kind of a good story you got for us then?
This is actually a short one, but
okay.
I basically bought a house in 2021, and apparently the previous owners still are here. And
Interesting.
Actually, I was just told last night, or 2 nights ago on a podcast, that it's 2 humans and 2 dog spirits. But I mean, it's not really any poltergeisty type activity, so it's not anything. Nothing's flying off the shelves. No cabinets are flying open. It's just you kind of can sense that something's here, and if you're in the basement and no one else is home, you'll hear footsteps walking upstairs, and you kind of get a sense something's here. And our cameras pick up a lot of weird stuff, especially in the backyard. So
interesting.
I had paranormal investigators come in when we first bought the house and like do a walkthrough, and I even I was talking to the spirits for a while with the divining rods, and basically I actually had one of them whisper in my ear, "Thank you," when I was talking about all the renovations I did to the house. So
awesome.
Creepiest freaking moment of my life. And I literally had goosebumps down my whole spine, but it was unforgettable.
Oh yeah, I think I've already shared this in one of the episodes, but I used to manage for a brief period of time, I managed the Gadsden Hotel, which is in the little town that I live in on the border of Mexico and Arizona. And it's was not so much anymore, but it was a gorgeous hotel, very wealthy, a lot of movies done there, you name it, very luxurious. But when the hotel sold, and I ended up resigning, but when it sold, I took a stand for the fact that the new owners need to understand that it is active and that it needs the ghost stories. People come there for that. They're curious about the paranormal. They want to know more. And so these gentlemen were kind of like, okay, whatever. And I was like really adamant about it. I've been leading ghost tours there. But anyway, so they went off one direction. And then all of a sudden, like right by my ear. And this wasn't the first time there I'd heard my name, but it was one of the most profound because it wasn't just Jaycie. That particular time, it was though someone was standing right next to me and they said, "Thank you, Jaycie." And I'm like, no way. And I'm like, no one was around me. I'm like, this can't be happening. But
when I was in college, my buddy's mom used to run a actual haunted house in Prairie du Rocher, Illinois. It's like a really small town in southern Illinois. It was I want to say it was like an old settlement cabin that was haunted by a little boy. And they would bring out like every ghost hunter or paranormal like investigator came out there to like confirm or just kind of see what was going on. And one of them got a a picture of a little boy riding a trike out in the yard. Like
wow.
That was like one of the moments where I was like, okay, I was skeptical before my story, and then I was slightly skeptical, and then I saw this picture of a little boy riding a trike in the front yard, clear as day, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And yeah.
Yeah,
I
it's
love
really
that.
wild when those things happen. Yeah,
Oh, actually,
absolutely.
Yeah.
I should add, the investigators took a picture of me right when they said that to me. And in the picture, some people can see it, some can't. But I can see it in between my arm and my side. It looks like there's a little face underneath my arm.
Oh,
Oh, wow.
wow.
Oh, wow.
I gotta find that picture. I keep saying it. I gotta freaking find that picture on my phone somewhere.
Wow. I had a picture taken. I was with the gentleman that I was married to, that I owned the bowling center with. We were in Mexico and on the beach, and I took a picture of him. And you can see the people, because he was just standing on the, just in the edge of the surf, right? And you can see people and their skin tone, their hair color. They're probably 50 yards out in the water behind him. But right behind him, there's this silhouette of a woman, and she's all just solid gray. And she's just clearly walking down the beach, but she was right behind him. And there was nobody behind him because I intentionally took the picture when no one was around so that it would just be him,
Wow.
except for people way away. And it's funny because, again, I shared in another episode, but that silhouette type image I saw with my own eyes of a cowboy, except the cowboy hat on and it looked like a duster in the Gadsden. And that's the first time I really consider ever having seen a full-bodied apparition. But I still couldn't see a face. It was just a grayed image. But it's the same thing that I saw with my naked eye as I did in this image from Cancun from many years ago. It's wild.
Well, if you guys
So
want, I
cool.
actually have the photo. I found it real quick. If you
Oh,
want me to share my
nice.
screen.
Oh my gosh. Wait, yes. Hang on.
Yes,
I probably have
yes.
to give you permission.
Yeah,
I don't
you
know.
do.
You can try. Let me find it.
I was sitting there, I knew exactly where it was. I was like, I bet you I could find it before we get this thing wrapped
Can
up
you
here.
now? Did I
Let
get
me
it where
s-
you can share yours yet?
Yep, we are
Okay,
good.
cool.
So this is just my Facebook page, but you'll see you got like this line with like
I
the
see
Oh,
it.
wow.
Yeah, I see it.
yeah. So that was a photo that got sent to me at like 4 o'clock in the morning, and talk about
Yeah, there you go.
getting So I figured I'd just
That's
share it really
wild.
quick. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
that's
so
very cool.
wild.
So
Oh my gosh, you guys. What? Whoopsie. Now I'm trying to share. No, Jaycie, that's not what I wanted.
there you go.
Okay,
Cool.
thank you.
Yeah.
I was going to take it back off, and then I was like, no, that means.
No, you're good.
Oh, that was so amazing. Thank you guys so much. This has been a lot of fun. What a cool way. We even ended up with a picture. That is so wild. Yeah.
Yeah.
So many stories. We could sit here and just go on and on, I'm sure, because there are so many different things and so many different stories. And one of the reasons, and I've said this all this month, is that one of the reasons I wanted to do this, not just because of the interest in it, and I've grown up with it around me everywhere I seem to go, but because sometimes it's scary to people, or they think you're crazy if you have one of those stories. And I just think it's great to be able to share that and go, look, here's all these vast amount of stories, as well as obviously you guys doing paranormal podcasts specifically. But because I don't normally share that, I wanted to do that this month and say, look, we're just the average Joe, if you will, but we have stuff happen. Or some of us might not be average if we can see stuff, hear stuff, or it happens around us a lot. Maybe that makes us weird. I don't know.
Actually, Jaycie, if you're interested in seeing, I do have pictures of things my camera caught my backyard.
Yes, share.
You
can share yours too.
Some spooky thing. All right, let me get him open here. What the hell is it? There it is.
I so wish to this day I had it was a digital camera, the digital image from Mexico, but unfortunately those were the old times. We don't just save them like we do now. And I had it printed out for years. We kept it at the bowling center and then it disappeared. So and we lost the digital thing. So it is what it is, but I don't get to share mine and prove my story.
There it is. Okay. See if I can zoom in on this a little, but where the hell is that? Yeah. Zoom in. But if you can see it.
Oh.
Right by the tree. Come on. Right by the tree over there.
Yeah.
Some kind of, I don't know if it's presenting itself as a shadow figure or what, but
oh wow. Huh.
it's creepy.
Yeah.
That's very
and
cool.
if I can get that's a close up
Oh,
of it.
you can see it better there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Wow.
this other thing that's in front of it in this one, it,
Oh, okay.
it's like I don't know if that's the original owner and his dog, perhaps, but
Oh.
It does look like an animal, doesn't it?
Hmm.
and there's actually a better picture of that one too, I think, somewhere
That's
here.
really fascinating. That was the
Definitely.
animals were some of my first experiences. Speaking of animal, my dog's being difficult right now. I'm so sorry, everyone. She's pulling on me. I'm like, she's
And
living
like
though.
it's weird because like in the sky in
Yeah.
this one, like the camera's picking it up even because it's something in the sky that shouldn't be there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And trying to see if I know it. I think I had better pictures of that. Oh, there we go. That's it.
Yeah, some of my
Gosh.
first experiences with whatever are animals or pets that we had, things like that, where you'd hear them and stuff like that after they were gone.
Yeah, I don't know
Yeah.
what
Pretty wild.
I can't tell what this thing is, whether it's just the
Huh.
same like dog thing like floating around the yard in the air. I can't
Yeah.
tell, like,
Oh, yeah. That's
but
it's
I don't have
interesting.
any of the freaking there's a second set I had somewhere where the sky is actually like an orangish fiery glow. Like, and I can't explain it.
Oh,
I
Oh,
mean,
wow.
that
I don't know. I don't know if extraterrestrials are involved in that one because I do live in a high UFO area, but
Tom lived in Roswell for a while.
that is so
nice.
cool.
That is
Yeah.
freaking awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Mm.
very awesome.
And I'll tell you, living out here where I'm at in Arizona, it's not because I am close enough to Agua Prieta in Mexico, so there's a lot of light from that. But when you get out just a little bit farther, it is the dark sky. And of course, where I was at in New Mexico is the dark sky, and a lot of people come there because you can see the cosmos with the naked eye. It's the coolest thing.
Beautiful.
But I was driving up to the neighboring town one morning at 5-ish in the morning, and probably 5:30, something like that. So it was still dark out at that time. And whatever I saw, some would maybe try to say it was a shooting star, right? But I'm like, a shooting star doesn't hover in one place and then go vertically as fast as it can go,
Yeah.
or not vertically, horizontally,
Yeah.
as fast as it can go. I don't know, but it was pretty wild.
Yeah.
I know that it was over Mexico, not technically over Arizona because it was over a little bit, but it was pretty wild. I was like, did I just see? Maybe. I don't know.
That reminds me when I was working same canine job, but it was actually in the city of Brisbane. And yes, I'd probably been awake 72 hours. So I'd been doing
Ooh.
shift after shift after shift. And I was doing around a 8-car carriage train, and I looked up in the sky. Now this is in the main, they call it Main Central, so it's right in the middle of Brisbane.
Mhm.
And I looked up and there was this spiral in the sky. So out
Wow.
comes the phone. Now this was a few years back, so it wasn't the best of phones. It's not like, what we've got today, but I took a photo of it and I sent it to my wife, who's in Noosa at the time, a few hours away, and they were having a barbecue. So a few friends were around and they're all texting me going, what's going on? I said, so
Oh
it's
my
not
God.
just me, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
you know what? It's the same thing as the technical side of things. I can't get it off my phone, so I'm going to have to get it because I've still got the phone,
Yeah.
and get a hold of that because that was just amazing. And then it just disappeared.
Oh, that's wild. I have to
Yeah.
say, anybody that's listened to these episodes this month, we've had the synchronicities that align. The four of us are sitting here and have had some experiences or conversation and willing to talk about, because UFOs are UFOs, they're unidentified flying objects,
Mhm.
period. We don't know what they are. And people can argue about what they might be or what they might not be, whatever. But we're sitting here about these experiences, things that we've seen, or the fact that Tom lived in Roswell, which is just like the kicker to the whole conversation. But I find that supernatural, paranormal, fascinating. It's an interesting synchronicity. The way that those of you, when you go schedule your own time, when I send you the calendar, I'm like, these are my times that you guys can
Yeah.
come on it. And here you end up together. And I've
Yeah.
seen it with a couple of other times where similar experiences or things show up in those people. And I just think that's so fascinating as well.
For sure. So I'll jump in real quick with a Roswell story. And this is the only one that I cannot explain in any kind of way. So I was driving, there's one of the side main streets, it's called Sunset Boulevard. And so I was driving down Sunset, and it was later at night, maybe like 10, 11 o'clock. I was going to meet some friends, and it was a clear sky out, and I saw a quadrant of lights up in the sky, like 9 lights in a perfect square. I was like, oh, that's interesting. The military must be out doing trial runs, because we're not far from we're like maybe an hour or two from an Air Force base in Roswell. And I was like, okay, that's interesting. They're up this far doing military things. And so I rolled down my windows, shut my air off, just try to make it as quiet as I can, just to see if it's a helicopter, if it's a plane, if it's a whatever. I hear absolutely nothing, like no cars, no nothing, dead silence outside. And I'm like, okay, so there's nothing making noise in the sky, so it can't be a helicopter, because I don't care what you say. It may be stealth, but you can still hear it if you know what you're listening for. And then all of a sudden, all the lights just in like synchronous, like in sync, just start fluttering from one side to the other, and then just all shut off one by one. And then they all turn on together and shut off, and the thing just kind of goes away.
That's pretty wild.
So
Pretty wild.
Awesome.
I don't,
awesome.
I like, I'm not as equipped in it. Like, I'll watch like UFO docs and whatnot, but I'm not like that knowledgeable in the realm, so I don't know that much. But you cannot tell me that was not some. Yeah.
So that was definitely not Army. That was definitely not Army.
No.
Sure doesn't sound like it.
Yeah. So it was just one of those things where it was like, and I went and I told my buddy, I was like, I think I just became one of those crazy Roswell people that had an experience. Because we used to have a guy, like, I worked for a TV station out there. We used to have a guy that would come in every couple of months. He owned a farm, and he'd come in and be like, okay, so here's the attack patterns they were practicing out in my cornfield. And he'd have like a very detailed map of UFOs that he saw doing like flying formations. So
wow, that's so fascinating. Yeah, so many crazy things. So oh my gosh, you guys, really quickly, let's go back around, and will you share with everybody where they can find you or find your podcast? We all have podcasts here. But share, and of course, if I don't have it, I'll be reaching out to you, but I'll make sure that I share links in my show notes as well. So Tom, we're going to come back to you.
So you can find me at Live and Amplified. That's kind of the social media platform that I've been building for the last 8 years. We support and promote independent musicians. The podcast is the Live and Amplified Indie Fusion Podcast. You just type in Live and Amplified and you'll find us pretty much everywhere. So
fantastic. Wendy?
Yeah, so I'm on Facebook as Wendy Gay Hodson. I'm on YouTube, which we're starting this week, Walkham Paranormal. So WALKM Paranormal, and it stands for like Wendy, Arctic, which is my bird, Lumi, which is my other bird, Kim, which is my partner, and Major, my dog. So that's how it works out.
That's cool.
Walkham, yeah.
Cool. That's awesome. And Jeremy?
I mean, you could find me on anywhere podcasts perform, YouTube, any of that, on as Paranormal the New Normal, as Maniacal Music Musings. I'm also half of the Asylum with Harley and Joker on the Mod Squad Network. And you can also, you can find me on Facebook as Uncensored, Untamed, and Unapologetic Podcast Collective, UCubed. And all over Twitter, Instagram, and or I guess X, not Twitter, whatever.
Right.
And TikTok as at Juggalo Bastard or at Juggalo Bastard Podcast.
I love it too. One more synchronicity, if anybody didn't catch it, because I certainly did as soon as Jeremy came on and told us who he was. He and Tom both have an interest in the paranormal. They both have podcasts, and they both work with musicians or talk about music. Interesting synchronicity. So cool. I just found that fascinating.
Yes.
So, yeah, pretty cool. My oldest is a musician too, but anyways.
Yes.
Anywho, used to be in a band, but anywho, now he's in the Air Force, whatever. All right, everybody, we got to go for today, but so great. Such great conversation. I'm so happy that we got the surprise of you guys sharing these pictures. That was just freaking awesome. So thank you guys for doing that. And what we've all experienced and seen, I have a feeling a lot more people have experienced things. They're just not willing to tell it because other people think they're crazy.
Mhm.
Very true.
All right, everybody. Yeah, right? So, all right, everybody, we're out of here for today. Thank you guys so much.